Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to staff development on January the 19th, 2015. I'm Melissa Eddy. This is Memorial High School, and we're here for a session on flipping the classroom and modeling in the science classroom. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is in your pods there, grab one of the index cards and see if you can develop a definition for the flipped classroom. I just want to know, do you know what the flipped classroom is? And you can do it individually, or you can do one for the group. Does not have to be in complete sentences. Just tell me what you think the flipped classroom is. No. I don't keep pens in there. I think you guys know what it is. I see long, long definitions. Okay, how many of you are done? If you'll give me a total response signal, a thumbs up if you're done. Thumbs up if you're done. Okay, we have a few people still working. Okay, looks like everyone is very close to being done. Can I have some volunteers to share their definitions? Okay, Claudio, because you wrote a lot. You wrote a lot. Tell us what the flipped classroom is.
A flipped classroom is a more efficient way of instructing by creating videos of a lesson for students to watch at home, so that when they come to class, more time is spent applying and learning in the classroom. Okay, very good. I like that. I like that. More efficient. I definitely agree with him on that. Okay, anybody else? Maybe Mr. Bows, would you like to share?
Being a flipped classroom is, again, you do a lot of the independent pre-teaching at home in whatever form that is, viewing videos or reading something you assign to the kids. And that way you get them in class, like you said, you're ready to apply the instruction and help guide them in small communities, however you want to do it. But they're coming with the pre-knowledge, pre-reading before they get to class.
Exactly. Okay, somebody from this pod. Claudia. Okay, very good. So I like all of those. There's so many components that you mentioned. Like he said, more efficient. He mentioned that you make the video or the podcast, but actually in science there are so many available. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But it seems like we have a good grasp of what it is. And that's one of our goals today is, since we kind of sort of already know what the flipped classroom is, we'd like to learn how to implement it, because that's probably the biggest stumbling block is you like to do it, but you're not really sure how to do it in your classroom. So we'll learn how to implement it. And then I want to combine that with modeling. In my class, in my AP Biology class, we do a lot of modeling. And I think that is so beneficial in the science class because we have so many processes to talk about. So you're going to see how I would implement a flipped classroom lesson and then use it in a modeling lesson in class the next day. So let's look at some of the benefits of the flipped classroom. Like somebody said, it's self-paced learning. And this is something that my students have commented on. One particular student said, I love it. I love it because I can watch the video. Let me backtrack a bit. What I do is I assign media homework, that's what I call it. I give them the entire list of media homework for the entire 6 weeks. And so the kids know well in advance when it needs to be done. I use the Bozeman series, typically, and those are probably limited maybe, 9 to 12 minutes, which I think is a a good amount of time for a video. But again, it's self-paced, and what my students said was, oh my gosh, I love it, I can watch the video as many times as I want, I can rewind it, I can play that little part over and over again, and that's just not something that you would get in a lecture. You know what I mean? A student can go back and revisit what they're having trouble with. What I like about number 2 is that I really believe that I think the homework is going to be more meaningful. And what I mean by that is actually the classwork. Because in the flipped classroom, what you're really doing is bringing the homework to the classroom. Now, when I assign the videos, there can be a number of things that the kids need to do. They need to be doing something while watching the videos. They can take notes, and that's typically what I'll do on a very difficult concept. Just take notes, guys. Just take notes and bring them in with you the next day, and we're going to do something. It could also be a worksheet. It's maybe something that's not as complicated. Here's a worksheet as you're watching the video, answer the questions, bring it in with you tomorrow. So that when they come into class, the actual homework, which is now classwork, is much more in-depth, much more complicated. So again, in AP Biology, I might give a data set on a particular concept that the kids have to analyze. I might give a free response. But it's definitely going to be more than just a worksheet. So it's really going to get a deeper understanding of the concept. Student engagement is one of the benefits as well. The kids are doing something in class as opposed to falling asleep or texting or whatever it might be. It's very easy for me to see who is engaged and who is not. And they like it. They love talking. And whenever I do move out of the pod formation, everybody's sad. Oh, we liked our pod. So I do have to do that occasionally. Typically at the beginning of a unit, I lay a foundation with maybe a day or so of lecture, and then everything after that is flipped based, student activities and such. There's much improved student-teacher interaction because your role now is to walk around and monitor and talk to the students and check for understanding. And again, that's much different from your lecture situation where you're talking and you have no idea if they are understanding or not. And again, it does give you the chance for real-time feedback. When the students are modeling a concept, for instance, right then and there, I'm applying a formative assessment. I can see exactly what you don't understand. I can correct something that is just a little bit off, right then and there. Again, if I were doing a lecture, I'd have no idea that they didn't get that or they had a certain step confused with another step. So there are so many benefits. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to kind of reenact a flipped classroom lesson that I did. I asked the students to watch a video at home on signal transduction pathways. Is anybody familiar with signal transduction pathways? I knew it a few years ago in college, right? But it's pretty complicated. So this was the homework assignment. Watch the video at home, take notes, just take notes, and bring them in tomorrow, and we're going to do something. So I'm going to show you that video right now, and you can take notes if you'd like, okay? And I'll get you some paper if you need some, but you can take notes, and then when we finish, you're going to do what the students would do in class that day, okay? So let me cue that up for you. While I'm setting this up, does anybody have any questions or comments? How many of you actually use the flipped classroom? A little bit? How do you use it, Claudia?
In forensics, I'll put articles, like if we're doing a case study, I'll put links to videos or articles and have the students read it, and then they discuss it in class. So I see that they like it. I like it. I hear the discussions.
Yes, exactly. It's like music to your ears as you walk around, and they're talking about G protein receptors and all kinds of things like that. It's really, really awesome. So I'm glad to hear that you're using it. If you're not using it, why are you not using it? Who can tell me?
My fear is some will do it and some won't.
Well, and that is going to happen. And so it does take time to set up a culture. I call it a culture. You really kind of have to set the expectations. And as they work in groups, that there's going to be a lot of pressure. Like, if you cannot help us, you're kind of unwelcome in a way. Everybody's depending on you. So it does take time. You have to be really consistent. You have to be very well organized. You can't tell them, oh, by the way, watch a video tonight for tomorrow. There's got to be advance notice so the kids can deal with the issue of the Wi-Fi and such. So hopefully you can see some of the things I do to help you implement it in your classroom. So here we go. This is a signal transduction video by Mr. Anderson, who does the Bozeman biology series. So that's pretty intense. You can see where the students would want to rewind that and watch it again and again and again. And even after watching it, they might come in the next day still not really getting it, right? So that's where my modeling would come into the picture. So what you have at your pods is a Ziploc bag. And in the Ziploc bag are a lot of representations of the signal transduction pathway. And then you also have kind of like a little placemat. And the students this year wanted extra cytoplasm. So I gave them extra cytoplasm. Because there's a lot of things to model. So what I'd like you to do is try to set up, just like the students would do, set up the signal transduction pathway and model it from beginning to end. And I might add, the way I use this in class is that they come in, I allow 2 days. So they watch the video at home one night, they bring in their notes. The next day, they're working on just learning the pathway. And then by the end of the next day, they have to have a video. There has to be a short 1 to 2 minute video that they email to me, and then I grade that. So you can see how multiple takes would really enhance their knowledge, how they're really going to get it. So set up your cell membrane, set up your G protein receptor. There's labels. Each of the different structures has a label. And so I'll walk around. We're doing a little bit of formative assessment right now as we're trying to see if you even recognize the parts of the pathway. And then as you begin to model it, then I again can provide more feedback to you. And just reminding you what this was a signal transduction pathway where epinephrine was stimulating the breakdown of glycogen in a fight or flight response. That's what we were trying to do, right? Trying to see how glycogen gets broken down to make glucose when we've got some sort of stressful situation.
They like working on those.
Definitely. Definitely. This is great for the kinesthetic learner. It's really great for everybody, I think. Yes. Actually, no. I think I gave you extra, there are extra ATPs. Yeah, there are many, many different parts because they get lost. They get lost. Definitely.
Are we supposed to have glucose?
No. What you'll have is glycogen. You have glycogen, and so you're going to model the whole pathway, which will stimulate the breakdown of glycogen to glucose. Okay, and so let me help you find the glycogen there. Right.
I just didn't know if you wanted glucose at the end.
No, I don't have a separate glucose part in there. I think there's a lot of parts.
Yeah. Okay, so
one thing I might add, if you'll just look up really quickly, if you look on the back of each of your pieces, you'll notice that I have a number. Every one of the pieces is numbered with the set that it belongs to. Okay, in other words, I didn't number the parts 1 through 99. In other words, all the parts in their set have a number 5 on the back, and this is because sometimes they're left on the floor, sometimes they get mixed up, and you're going to find if you do these models that that's such an important step. It does take a little bit of time, but it is definitely worth it. Okay, so you have successfully modeled the signal transduction pathway. Again, I would do this in a 2-day period. And again, the kids submit the videos, and I got some really great ones this year. Really great, and they're such perfectionists. And it works really well in our district because we all have iPads, and there are so many apps the kids can do to, link all the videos into a nice coherent sequence. So what I'd like to know at this time is, does anybody have any questions about how to implement the flipped classroom or how you might implement modeling. Let me add this. I use modeling a lot. We just did it before the Christmas break with action potentials, right? So almost every concept that I'm doing, whether it's photosynthesis, light reactions, let's say, or glycolysis, or signal transduction, almost every single thing, concept, process that they need to know that's difficult, I try to do a modeling activity. And it does take time to set it up at the beginning. You have to do a lot of cutting and things like that. But you don't always have to use paper models like I used in the action potential. I use little pom-poms and beans and rice and all kinds of things like that. So once again, are there any questions about any of these things? How to implement it? How does it work? Comments?
So the template on getting this set up, you had to develop, or was it already?
This template I did get at a workshop from another teacher who did give us permission to use it. But you can always make your own templates. I have done that too with my, my art skills. But yeah, you can find sometimes you have kids who are really techie and they would like to set up the template for you. And then once you have the template, you can just make the copies and cut them and number them and all of that. So good question. It does take time to set it up.
Now, what do you do at the beginning of your classroom? You have some kids who just watch the video.
You're talking about the beginning of the semester or the beginning of the period?
Is there an alternative for that, or do you just kind of make them?
Again, I'm in an AP biology class. The kids are interested, they're motivated, they want to pass. Like I say, there's a lot of peer pressure. It probably does happen a little bit at the beginning. And so what I would add at the end of this, there is a quiz. And I would say that is a very important step, that after we've modeled it, then you need to do a quiz on your own. And so right there, I'll be able to see you didn't read, or you didn't watch the video or whatever it might be. And in the modeling, you weren't even paying attention. So at that point, I can see, and then I can talk individually to that person. Listen, you've got to get this done. If you need to come into my classroom to watch the videos, if you need a computer lab, pass. But usually they don't complain a lot because they like it. It's really suited to their learning styles. They love watching videos on their iPads and phones. And so I don't have a lot of trouble. Just at the beginning, people aren't used to it, but afterwards they're like, hey, when do we have media homework next? When's the new media homework list coming out? So they're ready to do it. Any other questions?
How do you weight the video that you have them do? Is that like a homework? Is that a quiz?
The 2-day project, it was a quiz.
It's a quiz.
It was a quiz. And they were asking, are you going to count this as a test? Because to them, it was a lot of work. And I mean, it could have been a test grade, but I didn't want to count it as that. I wanted to count it as a quiz because there are still some kids who, maybe they're still confused, or maybe their video isn't as good as another group, so I didn't want to penalize them. But a quiz, definitely.
Would you, let's say you mentioned maybe one of the assignments that they would do the next day would be going through a pre-response problem. Would that be something that they would need a video presentation on, or is it just for the modeling that you do the video?
I have done a media homework the night before, and then we come in the next day, here's a free response on that concept. And so I really find myself actually doing very little direct instruction. They're doing that at home, and they know that's the expectation. You need to watch that video till you understand it. And then of course they come and work collaboratively, which is what I'm doing. I've been doing, the pods are new this year, but I've been doing the videos for about 2 years. And I think with AP Biology and the deeper understanding that they need to pass the test, it really helps. So yes, you can do it with a free response, or even practice AP questions, multiple choice style.
For the video that they produce, do they get a rubric before the beginning
Yes.
of everything?
Yes, definitely. Everything has to be correct. Is everything labeled properly? Definitely, there is a rubric.
Is the video a group effort or is it individual?
They will get a grade for their notes. So you come in, you can use your notes during the filming of the video, but I will pick them up. So there is a grade for that as well. So there's accountability at a group level and an individual level.
I did have a question about the notes. So at the beginning of the semester, or when the kids are walking in, you do have to get them to, have a certain layout of notes. Do you provide keywords, guidelines at the beginning until they get used to doing it on their own?
You can do like a practice. Okay, let's watch a quick animation, and everybody practice taking notes, and let's compare what you came up with at the end to make sure that we're all looking for the same kinds of things. So kind of like a little training.
Yeah.
Definitely, you can do that. I do let them kind of do the notes in their own style. I have some who do.
Cornell.
No, not Cornell. The ones that do like pictures and
Oh,
things.
the
like
graphic organizer?
Graphic organizer, thank you. Some of them do graphic organizers. Some of them are, do it like in sentence form. I think it needs to be whatever works for them. So I don't want to give a very defined format. But yes, let's teach them what is important in the videos. Okay, anybody else? Okay, well, I hope that helped you, and I hope you can use it, and you are welcome to come by anytime to ask me for assistance or guidance. Thank you for coming.